Number one, public service is a creation of the national constitution. Hence, therefore, it is an instrument of the executive arm of the government. Public service, number two, public service role is delivery of services, including implementation of government policies, plans, and programs. Number three, public service is also the facilitator of economic growth through facilitating private sector investment. Number four, public service is the enforcer of laws and regulation through which creates a safe, friendly source for social and economic growth. By the virtue of the above facts, the public service has a very important role, but also a key stakeholder in promoting economic growth and development. One might argue that without public service or the public sector, the government has no ability to deliver MTTS, economic policies, development plans, and so forth. And it is true. The real question that you and I need to ask today is our public sector today effective, or is it capable of performing its role as defined under the Constitution in driving inclusive economic growth? And if you ask me that question, my honest and frank answer is 50% yes, 50% no. And let me explain why. I'm halfway, 50% yes and 50% no. Number one, our public service today is huge. I describe it as a monster. It's overweight. By physics, when you are overweight, it restricts your ability to perform at full capacity. And that is what the public service is today. Our public service today consumes 70% of the total annual budget outlay. And of this, 35% is for wages and salaries alone. And that's close to about 4.1 billion every year. In business terms, when you have a ratio of 7:30, and any businessman and woman will tell you, no business with such financial structure can survive. Thirdly, it's a question of quality and quantity. We have quantity in our public servants, almost 120,000 employees, of which 55 are members of the education sector, are teachers, and so forth. But we lack quality. Quality in terms of capacity, skills, knowledge, and so forth. Number four, there is poor or little coordination or communication amongst the national department or at the sub-national level. I think every agency, from my experience being in the office for almost 3 years, have a tendency to do things on their own. As a result, very little is achieved. A lot of scarce resources are just wasted. For instance, the National Transport Infrastructure Plan should be based on health sector plan, should be based on education plan, based on agriculture. But in the past 20 years, we've lost that connectivity. Many infrastructure plans are based on what agenda people's own, either be political or another agenda. And often we build many roads that becomes unusable and not accessible by people. Number five, duplication of roles and responsibility. Too many of our agencies are doing the same thing. It therefore creates confusion, competition, waste of resources, and at the end, little is accomplished. Somebody told me a few years ago, when there was a proposal to create a government agency, another government agency, and the simple question that I asked that gentleman was, why do you want to create another agency when you already have an agency? And his response is, this agency is not able to do what I want. They're lazy. The public servants in that organization is lazy. So there goes, we established another agency to do the same job. When that happens, what happens? There's a lot of competition. The little money that we have is thinly spread to funding organization. Hence, little is achieved in terms of real tangible development. Poor attitude and discipline. I think many of us know, and my colleagues are here, and this is one of the serious problems we have in the public service. People simply lack commitment towards their responsibility. And simply in many cases, people don't really care. This is the public servants we have. And many of them do so because regardless of whether they turn up for work or they turn up for half a day or not doing anything at all, they still get their fortnightly wages. So attitude and discipline is a serious problem in our public service today. Finally, ethnical segregation. Public service is now heading in a direction of ethnical segregation. What do I mean by that? You see the public service in the provinces. To give you a classical example, I come from Enga. In Enga province, 99.9 public servants, right from the administrator right down to the T-Boyd principals, is Engan. Same in Morobe, same in Isipik. That's an alarming development. And many of you are here know exactly what I mean. We are creating so many countries within a country. Where will that get us if we are talking about working together, believing in together, and believing in the wisdom and aspiration of our forefathers? For me, that is one of the biggest challenges that's facing us today. If we don't deal with that issue head-on, then it will come down to harm us in the long run. I've just mentioned few of the issues that confronts the public service today. And I'm sure during the course of the 2 days workshop or summit, you'll be talking about public service. And I'll be interested to look forward to some of the responses on how we can make the public service more effective. What it means for us is in the context of the theme, public service has a role to play. That role is important. It's important for us in that context to deal with the challenges that confront us today. And I'm pleased that over the last 5 years, since this government came into place, they have introduced many reform initiatives in the public sector. And I'm going to just give you some of them. Firstly is the restructuring of the public service. Just a few weeks ago, Cabinet approved a major restructuring exercise in the public service. It's to make the public service leaner and effective. They have decided to abolish many departments and also merge some of the departments together, making sure that there is no duplication of roles and responsibility. Also streamlining of tendering and procurement process. Many of us talk about governance issues. So this government has put in initiatives to strengthen the tendering and procurement process. In a few months' time, the Minister for Finance and his secretary will be bringing a new act dealing with procurement, which will provide for visibility, provide accountability and transparency in the decision making. This government is also cleansing the manpower payroll. That is to get rid of many excess. Now, I can tell you, every year after the close of account, there is almost 300 million kina salary overruns. Someone has to sit and find out why we're having this cost overruns. 300 million cost overruns. So one of the tasks that they've given to us is to make sure that we do an audit, right from the province to the district to the national level, and find out who these people that we are paying. Many stories have been told that we are paying ghost people who have died. I still continue to collect wages through their account. Many people are paid 2 or 3 many people are paid on the same position. For instance,